Hello, welcome once again to Cityscope. I'm your host, Jeff Pearson. Cityscope's a show that talks about what's happening in Charleston, West Virginia, but things that could happen all around the state. And often we get a real chance to talk to some artists on the show, and today we have Wes Eary. Wes, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Jeff.
We try with this show to talk about all things Charleston, but I think one of the central points is our art and our artists. And you add so much vibrance to our city. We were just talking about this before the show started. Such a great group of artists in Charleston. So we're not going to get too far ahead of ourselves. I want to talk about your past and how you first came to Charleston and your role or your process and how you became an artist even. So first, let me go back and say, are you from Charleston?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Charleston, West Virginia.
Okay, all right. Do you remember, we always ask this question, do you remember that first memory of like what now, if you were telling somebody this is something you have to see in Charleston or something you have to do in Charleston, do you have that memory as a child of what that would have been that you carry over now?
Oh man, to be honest, it's kind of ironic that we're actually in the building. When I was a kid, one of the places my dad used to take me was the Cultural Center Museum. Like it was, just the whole experience of it, like walking in, you got the big, what was that, big glass chandelier.
Right.
And to me, it was just like a awe-striking, like image, and like that was ingrained in my brain. And then we go downstairs, and it was just like this exhibit. And to me, like working as a barber, one of the places that I tell everybody to go is the museum here.
Oh.
I think it's super cool.
Yeah, and for those who are watching that don't know, the Cultural Center, but we filmed this show and also host a state museum in 2009. Had a huge renovation, and so it's if you haven't been here since then, it's like incredible.
Yeah.
So you came to, or you're from Charleston. You went to high school here, and did you ever think that you would be making it as a living, or at least making success in the art world?
I guess as a kid, I hope so.
Right,
you
right.
know, like it's something that I always enjoyed. I think one of the things is, going to West Virginia State University. That was like part of the intention. But there's a part like from the age of 18 to about 24 where I didn't do any art whatsoever. It was just I was working at the time. I was hanging out. I was more interested in the scene of Charleston, like hanging out with people, getting connected. Doing the restaurant lifestyle. But I remember a friend of mine gifted me some color pencils, some Prismacolors. I was like, man, these are some super nice. I can't believe she just gave me this huge shoebox of Prismacolor pencils. So I went right to work with him, and I drew a self-portrait. It was like a picture of me when I was as a kid, with my had my blanket tied around my neck like a cape, cowboy vest, my sunglasses, my hat on backwards and everything.
Right.
And I don't know, like for me, that kind of just was like, you know what, you still kind of got it.
You were at 20.
Good.
This is 24. You're old. How old are you?
I'm way older than that. So I'm 38. So that was about 14 years ago.
That's what I'm saying. You did this drawing when you were younger, though.
I did this when I was 24. Yes.
24. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. But then on, like it was just like, what opportunity do I have? What opportunity do I have? What can I do? So I was always staying busy, staying after hours in class. If there was like any chance to show art, I took it, and just was always open for an opportunity from there.
Then, when you were at state, you had art as your major.
Yes.
Okay. And what was that experience like? Do you feel like the program there was prepared you for where you are now?
It definitely developed an appetite for exploration through medium. Believe it or not, I graduated with an emphasis in photography.
Okay.
And I think that it was new to me. I didn't have any experience whatsoever with the camera. I was more comfortable with, illustration and painting. But the camera and the way that it was linked to the computer and doing all the digital work, and it just kind of sparked this little, it's almost like a need to explore and experiment through different processes.
It's interesting because West Virginia State has given us a number of artists in our community that we use for a lot of public art projects. Blake Wheeler, Nicole Westfall, all state graduates. And if you've been around Charleston the last 5 years, those names are pretty prevalent when it comes to public art and all products of West Virginia State. So it's interesting to hear that, to hear folks that have gone through the program have been successful.
Yeah, I think another thing is we had some professors there that were still active in the art community, and seeing their impact and seeing their work up all over town, and different, whether it be like some kind of restaurant venue or even the Clay Center. It was always inspiring, and always, and it kind of just planted that seed of why not me. So.
Well, I think, and that's a great point. When we see the generation or the group ahead of us being successful, and that they reach out and allow that new group to come in, we're starting to see that a lot in Charleston, and particularly the Clay Center. Liz Simmons, the new curator, they're not newish curator there. They've really opened the doors for new ideas, and we're seeing a lot of newer faces giving opportunity at the Clay Center, which is really refreshing. I mean, not that they weren't doing great stuff already, but supporting new local artists and not even upcoming, because upcoming, I wouldn't consider you upcoming artists now. Right. But giving opportunities to folks, and it's been great to see that. So one thing that's prevalent in your work is the use of color, of course.
Yes.
But in particular, you use a lot of iridescence.
Iridescence, and I've always got to try to thread some fluorescent in there, just in case somebody accidentally turns on a black light, maybe.
Right, exactly.
But
how did that start?
The black light or the color?
This concept and style of using those kind of colors.
Oh man, so I think it kind of roots from my childhood. It's just that pop, and I think that it was kind of comes from that '90s the 90s color palette. Yeah.
Well, if you're looking on your screen now, you can see this one here. Let's talk about this one for a minute, actually.
Yes.
This is a good example of what we're just trying to say. Like, you're taking in this particular piece, it's pretty standard in terms of the composition and the drawing style. But then, if you were to put a black light on this, what would happen?
I mean, that guy would look like he's radioactive and probably try to come out at you.
Yeah.
That image, that's funny because that was a photo I took at Tudor's Biscuit World. And that was actually during my time when I was in school. Okay. And so, but I always looked at it and I was like, man, I got to paint that sometime. And so yeah.
And one of the things that I'm just kind of going off the images at this point, because they're really nice images come up. You have kind of different series that you do.
Yes.
And I think we'll see some of these later, but right here we have on the screen now, you do this popsicle thing. Tell us about that.
Well, I didn't think that this sloth popsicle was going to make it, but hey, good example. So the popsicles, to be honest, it's a long story about the popsicles, but I can go in as far as to say that I made a huge transition in my life to take my life back. I was a mess. I decided to sober up, and part of that stress of that was, would I be able to create without that?
Right.
And so one of the things was a friend of mine was graduating a program, and she wanted me to paint her something. And so I was like, well, I'll paint her. a grape popsicle came to mind. She wanted something purple. And I was like, why not a grape popsicle? You know, it's fun. We all love that. And so that turned into me kind of experimenting and seeing, it's like, what other flavors and what other shapes? Because you can do many different, you can almost do any kind of, the possibilities are endless with them. So it, and then that carried on to actually like the COVID time, like where we were, you know, I had such a small space that where we were living, like we couldn't go out to I couldn't go out to my studio. So I wanted to paint something smaller. And then I was like, why not just make this a series? And so I started with 100. I painted 100 popsicles.
Dang.
Yeah, and so I thought I was going to stop there, but we're carrying on from there.
And are they mostly, it seems to me, on Facebook, it seems like they're mostly commissions. Or are they all commissions?
So now they were coming off the top of my head, but now that I've kind of just leave them to being commissioned. So if somebody asks, I'll do one, or every once in a while, I was like, I haven't done a popsicle in a while, so I'll pull
I think
one
it's
out.
interesting when we talk about commissions, and then when I don't know if you feel this way, I feel this way sometimes, when you're doing a commission, you feel differently than you're just doing something for yourself, but then that starts becoming something you do more often, is you're doing this for yourself, but even within the commissions, you're trying to find ways of making it interesting if it's not.
Right. I mean, it's hard sometimes, but sometimes the client gives you free reign. They're like, hey, I want this color pattern, or you know what, go crazy. And so I tend to have a little bit more fun. It's kind of, I don't know, it's the fact of them trusting me to put together a composition or whatever, to go crazy is, reassuring, I guess. So.
Yeah. And then another series, and I'll go back to the color stuff. The other series you've been doing recently, or not, maybe it's not recent, is the flowers.
Yes.
You have this kind of Van Gogh-esque flower series that you've been doing, and tell me a little bit about how that started.
Ooh, let's see, the flowers. So, like, every time that I think that I have it pinpointed, I always reminded about, I painted a few more before that. I think one of the first people to ask me to paint flowers was a studio mate of mine this is a good example of the first, when I started doing the 12 by 24 dimension, I felt like that was a good size that I can get it's almost like life size painting.
Right.
But I started painting those series last year.
Oh, okay, so it is recent.
Yeah, and then I just picked the series back up a few months ago, and I don't know, I enjoy it, man. It's one of those things that you get inspired by somebody else, and I was kind of reluctant because I wanted to stay within like the psychedelic creatures, monsters, But my fiance actually was very encouraging of that, and she's like, you can still do the real vibrant color palette. You can even get kind of trippy with some of the flowers and everything.
Well, and you certainly have, and you're mentioning monsters. It just came across the screen as you were mentioning monsters. That was good. The Pillar Project. Am I correct in saying that was probably one of your first pieces of public art?
Yeah, that was my first mural painting.
Okay, so it was the first.
Yeah.
What we often talk about this, going from two-dimensional canvas illustration board to a giant pillar. Yeah. Tell me about that process.
It was interesting to me, especially because it has that curve to it.
Right.
So trying to take advice from other people that have done murals in the past, and getting that first outline of my monster subject was probably the most intimidating aspect of it. But it's one of those things that I was lucky, in fact, to be able to work with other mural artists during that time, that if I had a question, they were very helpful. And so as the days progressed, it got a little bit easier.
Yeah, I think it's one of the most important parts of that project. We've been doing it since 2021. 2011, sorry, I said the wrong date. 2011, and so many artists have been paired together just by virtue of just being there together, and they learned so much, myself included, being spending my days next to Charlie Hamilton and Rob Cleveland, things like that, and sharing ideas and sharing challenges, and because the roundness of it really is a challenge for sure. And then the monster became a popular image. Your monsters in general just became really popular. We used it as the logo for the skate park and the stickers. Tell me about this guy. Oh my goodness!
Oh man, so that was this is another. That's Mickey Knox from. Oh man, I'm having a brain fart right now. Natural Born Killers.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so that's Woody Harrelson's character, and so this style kind of developed in the. We were talking about commissions earlier, and the fact that you can get stuck within commissions and you get kind of like you feel like you're going through the motions and you're not really answering your creative monster that lives inside of us.
Right.
And so I got like a 11 by 14 mixed media paper, and I started studying a lot of Ralph Steadman and Dolly's watercolors, and just seeing the freedom they have within the paper. And so I started to try to develop my own voice within the splatter and the paper and everything. And so different pop characters show up there every once in a while, but it's getting a little bit more, trying to control more chaos, if that makes sense.
It's interesting you say, one thing is, when we talk about artists, looking at an artist, and we talk about this all the time, is you're really truly getting pieces from this person, and you're building your own style, which is it's a great thing to do. I mean, you can see Steadman in there, but also you see your voice and you see where you're pulling from him, but you're not seeing it's not Steadman, it's you.
Yeah.
And so you see that growth of style and where it's going. So
yeah, I remember I had a professor, Paula Clendenin. I'm sure that some people may have heard of her.
Of course, yeah.
And she had this book she had us read called "Steal Like an Artist."
Right.
And it was like, you can take it and make it your own, but also if you what's a good example, like where an artist has taken a previous artist's image and that person has become more notarized than the actual original. I guess you hear it in music sometimes, like covers, And so I have yet to do anything like that, but I like to be inspired, and I'm like, okay, well, I want to see if I can bend this a little and put my little taste on it,
Yeah, well, I certainly see that in your work, and one of the pieces that will be really prevalent here in Charleston coming soon is Art Bus.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about Art Bus. So we started Art Bus during COVID. Actually, we have 4. This is the 4th Art Bus, and it's a competitive process where we do a call for artists, and you submitted a proposal. And so walk us through, like, when you're thinking about, well, I see this empty canvas that's a giant bus. What was your first thought and how you were going to approach that?
So my first approach was actually, I wanted to figure out what kind of subject matter. I was actually going to put like the monsters, like sitting and being like little characters in the bus. But it's like, well, that seems like, because like I was like, well, Charlie did his approach that way.
Right.
And I was like, well, I don't want to bite off Charlie. So I didn't really know, to be honest, what I was going to do. So I started looking through my work, and I took the template, started taking pictures and chopping them up. I used that program Procreate,
Sure.
And I was like, I wonder what it would be like because this kind of abstract, expressionism that I've been doing with, been using a lot of the mixed media with watercolors, the acrylic ink, and things. I was like, I wonder what that looked like if I chopped it up and put it on the bus. And sure enough, it looked pretty cool. See, this is a good example of
So this is one of the paintings that you used.
Yeah. And that one is, let's see here. Show me your cat skills, because you got the little cat going up by the.
Yeah.
There we go.
So I think what's interesting about your art bus is that I think it translates to very much. I feel like we're looking at a painting driving down the street. I think all the other art buses have been phenomenal. This one I think will be unique, not only because of its stylistically, but it looks like we're seeing a giant painting.
Yeah, and I think it's cool because like it's even down to the strokes, and it's like the little imperfections and everything. To be honest, I couldn't believe you guys picked it. Like, I thought that, in times past, it's like things like, well, that's a little too wild. It might be a little too much going on. But I feel like there's more of an open mind going on in as far as, I guess, like from the top down, like from our mayor, and the connections with festival and your office.
Yeah, I think one thing we've been trying to do over the past 6 years with the Public Art Office is baby steps. So, the public likes this piece, let's push it a little bit further. Let's push it a little bit further. And so you start to get that, and like, let's move a little bit in this direction. And again, the mayor is very supportive. And in fact, she's the one that wanted to make your Monster the Skate Park sticker. Yeah, she's a fan. She's a fan.
Yeah.
So it's those baby steps of like, what can we do? How can we push it? And you're going to always have a little bit of pushback. Have people say, well, but by and large, we've had a lot of positive energy from our community. So tell me about we'll go back to the art bus for a second. I remember I made the phone call to tell you that you had been chosen for art bus. I know you were really excited that day.
Yeah.
But we couldn't talk about it because it was like things were still kind of. We hadn't done all the notifications.
We had to keep it hush hush.
Yeah. So tell me about it.
I was actually working. I was in the middle of a haircut, and
we haven't mentioned that you're a barber as well.
Yeah. I am a barber. I work at the infamous Bully Trap in Charleston.
Yes.
Got all these cameras on, whatever.
That's all right. Yeah.
I only answer a few phone calls, but if I see Jeff P. show up, I will be like, sir, I have to drop my trimmers for a second and take this call. So it was, I couldn't believe it. I just thought you were just going to tell me, it's like, Wes, well, it was cool. We gave it a shot, but at the last, when it came down to the final tally, you were just a couple tallies short. And I was like, well, and I was prepared for that.
Right.
But when you told me that you're going to put my design and create this KRT Spaceship that's going to be driving the streets of Charleston, I couldn't believe it. I felt like the city was like, Wes, it is your turn.
And that's truly how we thought of it. We were down to 3 different artists. We were making our final decision. And I will say, like, they were so strong. We had such a hard time deciding. In fact, I mentioned to you off camera that we're probably going to use the person in the second and third place in the next 2 years instead of having a competition.
Right.
Because they were so strong.
Yeah.
But one thing that we talk about often with the mayor and our public art commission is giving these, again, we were talking about this earlier, giving artists opportunities. And it's not because they're at a certain place in their career. It's that we're ready to have another piece that's bigger, then bigger, then bigger. We kind of just keep building this thing. So we were ready for a Wes bus.
Yeah,
we were ready.
It felt like it. It felt really good.
Yeah, it's one of the things that we're going to run a little bit out of time, but I want to get to is Go in the Park. You've been just instrumental in how the success of that event, and it's a perfect example how you can take one singular idea and make something huge. I think you remember this started with a 11-year-old girl saying, if she could change one thing about Charleston, what would she do? And she said, I'd like to have a glowing butterfly at Magic Island.
Yeah.
And so we said, okay, let's do that, but let's have a giant event and a party. And let's get Wes and his band of glowing things, and we had a band, and we're in our 4th year now. So tell me, talk about for folks that haven't been to this event. Tell me about your experience with it and what you do at that event.
Well, I think so we have we'll have an artist gallery. We'll have a few booths where a lot of the crowd can interact. Like you can see face painting. There's a lot of photo opportunities for people. But I remember the nature of it. Like we didn't know what we were getting into the first year,
Right.
and we're still plugging cords in and trying to figure out where lights are going to go. And we just see like 100 people coming
remember
down,
that, yeah.
coming down the hill. That was a experience there, but it was cool because I feel like the people that are involved, everybody just got in where they fit in, and it was a huge success. That's why here we are, 4th year.
Yeah, that first year, we really, truly, that's how it started, was one singular idea from this girl, and we didn't know what to expect. We just thought,
No.
we're going to have this event, maybe some people will show up, but we had, like you said, it was like this sea of people just showed up at this event. It was a Magic Island at the time. We've since moved to the City Center at Slack Plaza, and there you can see Wes's glowing gallery.
I got my
So, and this year we're planning to make it bigger. We got some things up our sleeve for this year, and we're excited about it.
Yeah, I'm real excited. And I like our new location too.
City Center, yeah.
It's at City Center, and it's kind of, I think that place itself has actually become really cool.
Well, we've talked about this before. I think City Center is a great example how you can redefine a space through art or through redevelopment or usage. I think in this particular case, we're using all three. We're seeing how we're using a place differently. We're seeing new art coming in there where it hadn't been before, and just rethinking the whole space.
Yeah.
So before we forget, October 20th,
Yes.
7 o'clock, Glow in the Park.
Glow in the Park.
So what's next for you?
Next for me, right now, I'm just in my garage painting flowers right now, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm having a blast with it. Working on different dimensions with them, and I'm having conversations with people around Charleston, and even further on to just possibilities of things that we could get started.
Yeah.
And new places to have more art shows and get more people involved.
Well, I think one thing is for sure, your work, everybody talks about your work. The first thing they talk about is the energy. And that comes from you as your work. And as a person, you're always so positive and pushing people to be positive and about their work and about life in Charleston. I really appreciate that. And we're actually out of time, so I also appreciate you coming in and talking about your artwork and sharing it with us today. And thank you for joining us on Cityscope. We'll see you next time.